in their spatial plan so that they put the right structures where they should be. That's why I know that it's the issue of climate change that is confronting KZN. But on the hindsight is that people have also built on what I can call sand dunes, and that's why, or along the floodplains, and that's why you see houses being taken. So it's important for our mayors and everybody to understand that not only should we use the Council for Geoscience to help us in mapping the mineral deposits in the country, but we should now aggressively use them because of the climate change issue. The last thing is on collaboration. And I think it's very important for us to look at that. I'll take Limpopo because that's where I come from. And when I was the mayor in that region, one of the things we said to the mines is that you don't necessarily need raw water. You can actually use gray water from Polokwane. And that's why Anglo is using that to deal with their issues in the mine, but they also helped us to bring water to households. And I like what Ntate Masho was saying, to say, in as much as municipalities, development is coming closer to you. Use business to help you to fast track some of the things. And they can also help us, this issue of collaboration. And I mean, just as a parting shot, we are wasting time as municipalities when we don't build flushing toilets, because that gray water, we can give it to mines so that we can then do other things. Thank you very much.
Okay, all protocol observed. My name is Jacob Radile. I'm a director of NBL Holdings and Projects. We're located in Lejwe-Leputswa district in the Free State. We specialize in manufacturing and design. My question is to you, Mr. Mashikosa. Last year during SOPA, Premier emphasized the importance of small-scale mining and how they can feel pressured and struggling in terms of that has the product, primary product, which we use as a jewelry and manufacturing company, specifically gold. However, obtaining that mining permit is a bit challenging. And between the main stakeholder and the government, which is the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, you hardly find them in the same room, because we pose this question to him, he will refer it to DMRE. DMRE is not within the panel. So we kind of find it challenging because we were schooled, some of the directors went through Harmony Academy, we have mining authorization, we have vendor numbers, but we struggle in terms of our primary product, in terms of taking our business national and international. So if we can navigate a partnership between the two, I'll highly appreciate it. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Program Director. My name is David Masisi. I'm representing Maranga Letsatsi Investment Group. We are more in training. However, my question, maybe I want to direct it to the Director of Harmony as to what program do they have or future prospects of intellectualizing the processes of digging gold and form a program that can be schooled in FET so that we can take our young people to go and learn how to dig their own gold in the Free State by study it in a FET and go back to the mine and work there as a practical part of owning or maybe working along the line of your own economy. The second point is the asset register of was the cement mine in Henneman, if I'm not mistaken. that mine was closed. Now the question is why the mine was closed, why certain mines are closed, and what is the asset register of the mine, and what was the reason for the mine to be closed? Pending issue. When are we going to have in government MEC of mine or a person who is in charge of mining so that we can able to direct these issues of taking ownership of our mining sector equally? We have taken agriculture sector in the Free State. We cannot isolate mining and agriculture sector in the province because they are so-called national competency, but we have a provincial MEC, but we don't have provincial MEC for mining. However, the one of development, the young people, to be the ones that are working in the mines, because the mining sector is using foreigners who are illiterate, who are not even plowing back to the country, whereas we are sitting with youth and young boys and girls who are unemployed, sitting with qualifications. Thank you.
I think, Ms. Gigana, you'll respond once the panel is done, just in case that there are other things that come from the panel that you would want to address. Please.
Ntate Mapete, thank you so much. The questions are very, very, very critical in terms of the issues that we're discussing, because we're talking of the future of the Free State. We're talking of the economy stimulation of the activities within the Free State. There's a question here in terms of small-scale mining, which is something that the government is looking into. I must say that, the issue of small-scale mining tends to vary with the commodities, whereas it tends to be much more simpler to deal with small-scale mining in diamond sector. It is not necessarily the same with gold mining or even with coal mining. The reason being, if one were to look at the mines, the old mines in the Free State per se, you find that you would be having channels that are interleading from one mine to the other, which is why you would have in the Velkom area the whole exercise of zamazamas or illegal mining, because you can enter at one mine in one area and walk for about 30 kilometers into the next mine in the next town, and then walk for another 10 kilometers into the other mine. So that's why it then becomes a bit of a challenge. However, having said that, it doesn't necessarily say to government should stop looking into artisanal mining, which is the right term, because artisanal mining is not the same as illegal mining. Artisanal mining is small-scale mining. So it's something that is sort of developing in terms of regulation, and I want to believe that with the kind of effort that the Minister Mantashe, is putting into that particular subject, we would be seeing some progress in the issue of permitting. It's something that is sitting with the regulator as well, and there's a new system that the minister is rolling out in terms of permitting for mining, and we are all excited about it because it will fast track even the backlog that was there within the regulator for permitting. Ntate Masisi, there's a question that you are asking, which for me it's a very, very crucial question. The whole issue of what about collaboration between the mining sector and education, whether you want to call it higher education or even basic education. It's a very, very critical kind of an element that we are talking about. Earlier on, the Minister for Electricity was talking about 20,000 youth that are going to be employed and going to be trained. And we were just together with my colleagues from the sector, we were laughing and we were saying, you know what, we are moving in the right direction. In fact, our laugh was more around celebrating to say, we are now talking the real stuff. We're talking the real issues. Part of what the mining sector has proposed previously was also, in fact, in the Free State, and help the community with the scale level in the houses. Give us those people who will train them free of charge. But those lecturers that we are paying to both the universities to make sure that those lecturers that are there, they stay there to train the mining engineers. So if you're talking about FET, it's something that we could even look into and maybe work with the mining qualifications authorities to develop even the curriculum and come up with that thing. And Tatema Pekte, what you said 30 seconds.
30 seconds ago.
Okay, I'm left with 10 seconds, Baba, of my 30 seconds. There is an issue that of the asset register and why mines are closed. It's a very, very simplistic kind of an answer, which maybe might not satisfy Ntate Masisi. The reason why mines are closed is because every mine has got what you call a life of mine. When that mine gets to the end of its life, then that mine is closed. Let me be quick to say, the different companies have got different thresholds in terms of the grade that they are mining. Had it not been of Harmony coming into the Free State, Velkom would have been long time been a ghost town because Anglo was moving out of Velkom because of the grade. They had a certain threshold, and when they hit that threshold, they said, we are out of here. So Harmony said, no, we'll come in, and we are the marginal miners. We can mine mines at 4 grams per ton. Okay, and that's how we kept Velkom going. But now, once you hit that 4 grams per ton, even if you could have minimum gold at around 2 grams per ton, because it no longer becomes economic for the mining house. It's either you dispose it to somebody that can mine it, or you close it down. But there is a mine that we still had marginal gold within that mine, which we closed because of safety reasons. So those are some of the reasons whereby if you cannot mine gold safely, we cannot mine gold that has got blood. It has to be clean gold.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mashego. That's right.
Tela was our spokesperson. He took all the questions. Okay. So maybe let me comment to Umam Kigana, what she was raising. I think the integration of spatial planning in provinces, and not only in this province, should be across, because we're the state institution that must assist every province. It would be good on the planning phase, whereby the council is aware of any infrastructure that will be undertaken by the province, so that when we do our mapping, we align it with the plans. Because if we plan for ourselves, we'll go and map for different reasons. So I think at the right office, it's important that that engagement becomes proper and robust. But I was just adding on your comment. Thank you.
Lovely. So, go through. Morthe?
Yeah, well, no question was directed to me, but I just want to add, probably with the role that I have also in the Council for Geoscience, to say it's really much broader than just the settlements. It's also about all information that relates to planning, including how we take care of our water sources, because currently we're seeing people are just messing up even with the wetlands. So planning really, we appeal to local governments to say, it mustn't really just be a matter of saying there is a space there, let's go and put something.
Thank you. Look, considering water security, my background is groundwater, where I look at risk and how to mitigate risk in the groundwater sector in terms of mining. From a water security perspective, not only quantity but also quality. I think you as mining houses and all the other role players, we as a university, we can take hands and see what work are you doing and how we can also get that out into the world and also promote South African research in terms of mining innovation. Thanks.
Final comment from the Deputy Minister. Yeah.
Just in responding to the issue of mining, why not provincial ministers? Mining is a national competency. In all provinces, we have regional offices. They are headed by regional managers, and anyone is allowed to apply for a prospecting license. So you go there, you do all these things, even online. There are many people now who are applying for prospecting license, are used to attract people to come and invest at home. In the same way that Minister Sputla was saying, we are now going to roll out the rooftop solar whatever. It means Free State must also say, in China or anywhere, who are the people who are manufacturing this? Can you come to the Free State and localize some of these things? Can you come to the Free State and help us beneficiate gold or diamond or whatever? So provinces can also do that and collaborate with universities. The last thing is that we have now discovered that diamond tech now, you can then convert into fertilizers. You know the Russia-Ukraine war, where there are diamond mine dumps. Then through Mintech, you'll be able to do that. There's a fund that the Minister Mantashe has also put for artisanal mining. He launched it now in the mining in Daba, where DMRE and IDC are going to help.
But suffice to say, especially the R&D that you guys do, it is so important that that information becomes a little more available. I don't know what the protocols are with that information, so I say that as a qualifier, but that sort of material and information that you have with universities, with mines, with municipalities, with developers, with those who are in environmental management, migration studies, that sort of state infrastructure should really be more readily available. And I understand the competitive nature of the sort of information that you have, but if we're talking about development, we're talking about investments, and I would imagine many investors would love access to that because it would just cut so much of their costs, so much of the time associated with doing whatever impact assessments or research that would need to do before they actually start investing. But suffice to say, this has been one of the most engaging sessions I've had to listen to on a very opaque subject otherwise, and I appreciate how you were able to just simplify the language and make it accessible for us to engage as the floor has been able to do so. So thanks, Lawrence, and thanks to the members of the panel. A warm round of applause to them indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Standard Bank, if I may please ask you to come forward, sir, together with your panel members from the University of the Free State, Dr. Lindy von Maltitz. Required investment to improve performance of the agricultural sector in the Free State province. That would be a sub-theme that Dr. Lindy will focus on. She's on stage. The CEO of Free State Agriculture, Meneer of Dr. Gernie Botha. Investment in agricultural infrastructure and technology to improve competitiveness, as well as from Agrico Pty Ltd, Mr. Phineas Mugapi, investment in smart agriculture for improved productivity and reduction of carbon footprint, driving inclusive growth and food security. So growth in this context and conversation is not separated from food security, or food security is not separated from inclusive growth. This is the last session for the day. The time is 5:30. I will be back here at top of the hour, 5:05, for 2, maybe 3 questions for the members of the panel, and absolutely we will be done by 10:10. Is that fair? We'll be done by 10:04, and you'll be free to do what you need to do. I did see Mr. Dugwana, the Premier, and he is supposed to officially offer the summary and closing remarks. So if you don't see me, it's not out of disrespect, Meneer van Staden. I'm trying to locate the number 1 citizen to officially dismiss us. Otherwise, it might be a very long night sitting here waiting for a premier to come who's obviously taken sabbatical somewhere.
Thank you very much. Good. Thank you, Program Director. I think, before I start, I trust earlier today you enjoyed lunch. It was beautiful and fantastic, and it would not be possible if it was not for agriculture. So that's why we are here. I was getting worried because the mines was taking the farmers' times. So appreciate that we have half an hour, but it's so really exciting to talk about agriculture and sustainable agriculture, inclusive growth, food security. Because when you walked out, you knew that the food would be there. And I think that's what food security is about, to know when you wake up in the morning that the food will be available. And that's what, it's a human right. And that's why we are here, to make sure that 10 years from now, when there's another conference, when it's lunchtime, the food is still there. And we are talking sustainable, inclusive growth. Inclusive growth means opportunity for everybody in the agricultural space, and make sure that it's fairly distributed to everybody. Like I mentioned, it's a human right, and the availability of food, irrespective of class or anybody, it must be there. And in that sense, I'm so excited to have this esteemed three colleagues today, if I can call them colleagues. Dr. Lindy van Maltitz, she's a lecturer at the University of Free State. She's going to talk, while they're getting some slides on the required investment to improve performance of the agricultural sector in the Free State. Then Mr. Gernie Botha, he's the CEO of Free State Agri. He will touch on the investment in agricultural infrastructure and technology to improve competitiveness. I think that is so important, to make sure that everything what our producers are doing, that the necessary infrastructure is in place to make sure that the food is arriving at places like this, is arriving on our shelves and is processed correctly. And then lastly, and apology if I'm not going to pronounce this right, Diunai Feed, Mr. Phineas Mugapi is the Managing Director. Was I correct with the pronouncement? Not totally, but maybe you can touch on it later. But I'm really excited, when I looked at the presentation, investment in smart agriculture for improved productivity and reduction of carbon footprint. Is that not an exciting topic? Because everything what we are doing, investment, collaboration, everything, if we can leverage technology from it to make sure that the sky is the limit for our farmers. So I will start off by asking Dr. van Maltitz to touch on insights in the economical benefits of developing the agricultural sector. Thanks.
Thank you. So they saved the best for last. Agriculture is what we do in the Free State, and we do it properly. I prepared a presentation. Sorry, I'm a lecturer. This is what I do. I can't talk any other way. I think if we look at agriculture in the Free State, there is pretty much nothing that we can't do. Very few commodities can't be grown and produced in the Free State. We do basically all the grains. We do a lot of the fruit. We don't do citrus, but we can do pretty much everything else. Vegetables and our livestock. We can even do cannabis, and we can even produce fish. So everything. Compared to the rest of the country, we are right up there. We are second to the Western Cape when we look at our income and sales. From sales, agricultural and agricultural-related industry. So, like I said, we're good at what we do. Why do agriculture matter for us? So I think we've just learned we all need food. When we look at the industries around us, what happened with them in COVID, it was detrimental for everybody, except for agriculture. We sort of kept the ball rolling. We even growed a little bit. But look at what is happening to our planet. And this is common knowledge, but every time I look at it, I'm sort of like, it's quite shocking. In 1950, there was 2.5. You are in the correct business. you're gonna have to feed all these people. Right, people. The benefits of developing this department or the agricultural sector. So employment is the key to alleviating poverty, and employment opportunities through the growth of this sector is substantial. Foreign exchange. This is the one part where if the dollar strengthens and the rand goes, it benefits exports. It benefits our economy in that regard. So this is one part that brings money to our country because suddenly our products are cheaper. What is going on with imports and exports? Imports, that's what we import. So for those of you who can't see there, we import rice, palm oil, some poultry. There's a lot of debate about that, as you know. Some beer, things that we don't produce here. But look at what we export and look how good we are at it. And our agricultural exports is more than our imports. And this is good. This is a good place to be. Okay, I want to carry on, and now it doesn't want to. Any assistance from the IT guys, please? No, we're getting stuck. All right, thank you. All right, so if you want to invest in agriculture, it's not just planting maize. There's our value chain. So any part of that is part of the agricultural sector and relates to it. So you can start right at production, go right through to where we are buying the potatoes in Woolies. The whole process needs investment. And for farmers, we always say we want to move as close as possible into this value chain. And for projects, investment projects, this is also what you try to look at. You try to move down your value chain for investment opportunities. What do we need to attract investment? I think first of all, we need supportive policy environment. We have policies in our country that are contradicting each other, policies that discourage development. Believe me, it's the truth. If we look at some of the sectors and what we're trying to do in agriculture, they don't always speak to each other. We need a functional infrastructure. We've heard all about that today. We can't export at the moment. We are stuck. There's a lot of issues going on at our harbors. Strong knowledge base, and this is where we come in. I'll tell you a little bit more about us just now. And then where do you go from there? You identify your market first. You don't say, oh, I can plant apples, so where do I go with it? You first find your market. You first speak to possible investors or people that want to buy. You ask them. You go to countries. Your Department of Trade and Industry assists you, and you ask them, what type of products do you guys need in your country? And then you do your homework. We've heard from the banks. They want proper homework. And you do your feasibility analysis, and then you go back to your investor and you say, right, your homework's been done. This is what we need. And I'm sure this is a better way to get the money flowing in. Right, what do we need to make it work? Quote there, the highest service we can help themselves. We're a world-class facility. We are a valuable partner in any agricultural project. This answer state. We have a postgrad looking at developing and even further, but it's worth seeing. It's doing the same with cheese. We're milking cows, we're making cheese, we're selling the cheese. There's a fermentation unit that are making beer and gin. I don't think they're selling it because it's investment. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. van Maltitz. While the graph was on there specifically with regards to the imports and exports, no, I think there's another one that we also will have just now, one or two slides, so you can submit it, yeah, apology. While the graph was on there with the import and exports, Mr. Botha perhaps, you know, obviously from a investment in infrastructure point of view is critical. We all are very much aware of the challenges, you know, from logistics, distribution. If you consider the exports and the level of exports, it's critical. If I think about the citrus industry, for example, where there's a time issues, fresh fruit, that kind of thing. So your insights in that regard to make sure, you know, that we are proactive and what type of investments are required for becoming involved in that sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Westerveld. Yes, my apologies, let me just move forward. I had to look into technology and the improvement of competitiveness, and I've identified about eight areas where I think we definitely can compete. Firstly, I had a look at enhanced productivity. Obviously, technology adoption is quite important. I think we've made huge strides, and for the people that knows Nampu, we saw last year a driverless tractor there. So obviously there is big strides in as far as technology adoption is concerned. Infrastructure upgrades. Now, if we look both on-farm and off-farm, I think on-farm more particularly in as far as technology that we can, infrastructure that we can help in as far as the farmers' needs are concerned. Obviously, there is a lot of infrastructure that require upgrades, but on an off-farm situation, I think, and we had quite a lot this morning, we're sitting with severe challenges in as far as access to markets due to the roads and energy and all that challenges that are currently creating a lot of problems pertaining to complete competitiveness. So that's definitely an area where investment is quite necessary. In as far as access to markets are concerned, I've referred to the transportation infrastructure. Once again, if you can't get access to markets, farmers can't sell their produce. The produce can't travel to the shops, etc., etc. So it's basically a snowballing effect. Market information systems. Obviously, today's farmers need to be up to date with exactly what is going on in the markets. You need to know when to produce, you know to know when to sell. So investation in that regard, in that regard is quite necessary. The Premier this morning mentioned water management. I think water management and water scarcity is crucial in the Free State, which is a water scarce area, but also in the country. And obviously, without water, you cannot produce. So once again, quite a big priority that needs to be looked at. Obviously, innovation in irrigation infrastructure is quite necessary. And then obviously water storage facilities for the needs that we have. Training programs. Obviously, we need to look at training programs in as far as applied training is concerned. We're sitting with unemployed graduates, which is also concerning, and I think in that regard, we need some looking into investing in that regard. Digital agriculture, farm management software. I know there's a lot of innovation in that regard. Digital farm management tools, etc. A big stride has also been made in as far as precision agriculture is concerned, and I think my colleague will also speak to that. Sensors, drones, and GPS technology is currently creating a lot of inroads and helping to assist in as far as competitiveness is concerned. Then financial support. I think financial support we mustn't look over. In that regard, full support, not just access to credit. it enables farmers to invest in technology, and I think that given the circumstances, it is quite necessary. Access to credit, developing farmers is crucial, very, very crucial. But I think you must also look at the commercial farmer as such. Don't neglect. Then we heard about environmental sustainability. It's also very crucial currently. The renewable energy, the Minister of Energy spoke this morning about renewable energy. I think solar panels and that kind of energy is the way, the green energy is the way forward, given the challenges that we are faced with. So it's very important that we also get the necessary investigation in that. Then supply chain optimization, cold chain infrastructure, etc. Obviously, you can't get your produce, you can't leave it before it goes to the market. It must be properly stored. And in that regard, the challenge with regards to energy is quite concerning. So you need that energy to keep the cold storage in place. And then the last one that I've got is traceability systems. We've seen last year we had a problem in as far as biosecurity is concerned. And I think thank you, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Mr. Botha. I was thinking now, for us as financial institutions, and when you mentioned financial support, Dr. Lindy will also know in agri-economics, the value chain, the finance of the value chain is critically important for us to understand, obviously, in everything what we're doing. And interesting, sometimes we start the wrong time with building a value chain. We must start with the end user and understand, that we can fulfill on a value chain from a financial point of view and assisting there. But thank you very much. While they get Mr. Mogape's presentation on, like I mentioned, I'm very excited in looking at this. Please, apology for me not knowing the pronouncement of the business. I will appreciate if you can also tell me what it means, because thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Oos, and thanks for the program, the people that arranged the program. I'm quite happy today because after a very long time, I'm actually wearing my tie. So it has been, obviously in farming, guys, we don't normally wear ties every day. So I'm actually happy, and I'm applauding the program directors because I was worried that I was going to send back this tie without even wearing it. So as I've been introduced as I'm the managing director of DY Feeds. DY Feeds, some of you guys might know it. It's one of the farms that is located in the Velkom area. So the topic that I'm going to be covering quickly is investment in smart agriculture for improved productivity and reduction of carbon footprint. Obviously, when we refer to smart agriculture, it entails us being able to remotely manage or having the facilities that enable us to manage any, it can be crop farming, it can be chicken farming, any farming activity without having physical personnel or being able to get the data from whatever that you've installed as smart agriculture. Smart agriculture can include the internet, can include sensors, robots, or any artificial intelligence. So those are on the picture that shows some of the, it's a chicken house with some of the things that are referred to as smart agriculture. So all these equipments that are in the chicken house will feed you the data, then it assists actually. Smart farming is a new way of farming, using technology to farm, to help farmers. I've already indicated that smart agriculture. Smart agriculture assists us in various ways. The advantages of it include improved efficiency. By improved efficiency, with the data that I just referred to, we are able to calculate that what was the mortality rate, where we can improve, and what are the causes of that mortality when we're talking about chickens. It also assists in reduced costs. Unfortunately, yes, as a country, we've got high unemployment rates, but in certain instances, when you've got the smart agriculture, especially in your chicken farms, it can regulate the temperatures. You don't have to have any person stationed there when it's cold, then they can switch on the heater, switch it off. So with smart agriculture, you are able to operate that from the palm of your hand. Like I've also already indicated also, that also assists in increased production. These are some of the other advantages of smart agriculture in that it is, like I've already indicated, it's remote management where we can just use your phone, whether to switch on the aircon in your chicken house or to run a drone where you can see the vicinity of your farm. Everything that has advantages obviously has disadvantages, but today let's not dwell too much on the disadvantages because the advantages outweighs the disadvantages. So how we are approaching it, as I indicated myself, standing here, I'm a managing director of the YFeed. So how we are approaching this thing is that we identify projects within the Free State area. Once we've identified a certain project, then we call on investors or any interested stakeholders to invest in order to capacitate or alternatively improve on the existing infrastructures. We can all agree that there are there's a lot of infrastructure that has been deserted, that the department has actually before invested in, maybe because of undercapitalization or whatever reasons. You will find chicken houses there or farms that have been deserted. All of those farms, obviously, they've got their own reasons. So we normally tap in there and try to establish what are the reasons, and where possible, we try to resuscitate it. Here, that is depicted, this was a factory. It is a factory that is based in the Velcom area. It was manufacturing chicken feed, but it was not able to convert the feed into pelletized feed. We'll come to the next picture. These are two chicken houses that we've also identified. You can see they're using curtains on the other side. So they are not your typical, we normally say Rolls-Royce, where the Rolls-Royce ones is the most expensive ones, where you can operate everything from the palm of your hand. And here also on the very same farm, there's an abattoir that slaughters 3,000 birds per day. So that's what we do. Then we also identified in the site of Brentford, there's a layer farm that has been deserted, or layer chicken houses that has been deserted, and we also come in there to intervene. So now where we are is with the help of obviously the Industrial Development Corporation, the very same facility that I showed as the first picture, we were able to, or they were able to assist us financially to upgrade that farm. You can see now in the farm here, this is now what we refer to as smart agriculture. It is, you've got those, like you can now run the farm from your phone, and it's like the intelligence on it has been promoted. So we've just upgraded the farm. And then that's the only thing that we did. So where we want the intervention or the involvement of either the department or also the other financial houses that are here is that we have seen those chicken houses that are there. So we are also inviting the financial houses where they can to either lend us the money, or whether through credit or through grant. It doesn't really matter, because the people that we are targeting, with the topic is saying inclusive growth. So we are targeting medium-sized farmers so that we can also capacitate them to compete with our well-known big farming institutions. And what is key important here is that on the previous slide, I showed that we are manufacturing the chicken feed. So now now it's chicken houses. We also want to, something that is in the pipeline. Obviously, if we can get the support, then our intention is also to have a hatchery and also to have a commercial abattoir. We do have a abattoir there. It only slaughters 3,000 chickens per day. So in future, you need to have an abattoir that can at least slaughter 15 to 20,000 birds in a day. So while we are saying that, it has also been proven that the vertical integration, especially in this space, it's a working model. So also as aspiring, as if we aspire to be big, we also want to be able to produce our own feed, to slaughter our own birds, to do our own, to breed our own chickens, or to do the whole thing. Because if we can look generally, all the other big players in the market, that the likes of, I'm not allowed maybe to speak about the competitors. Yeah, the likes of the big guys in the business, that's what they do. Theirs, it's vertically integrated. They do their own chickens, they do their own feed. So that is why now we are saying that we need participation also from the government and also all the other stakeholders. If we are saying inclusive growth, it means that we need to go to those smaller projects that are obviously owned by previously disadvantaged people, where now, like the likes of Standard Bank, can go in and assist those medium-sized farmers. At the end of the day, food is food, food is consumed every day. Like generally in the country now, we've got a serious shortage of chicken. So if the department or the financiers can intervene and not say that these are small farmers, we just get them to a level whereby they are able to also produce certain quantities, then they can assist in terms of the shortages that are realized in the country. Maybe I'm taking too much time. I think with that, I think with that, then, okay, it's fine.
I've got to, thanks. I think, and thank you very much for the concise presentation. Like I say, it's hugely exciting. You know, when I noted it initially, I was also worried about, you know, how accessible will it be to the broad base of farmers in South Africa, and not without partnerships, not without investments, it will be possible. You know, if we don't start at equipping people with skills at the right places, like institutions, like the universities, and then get the right investments in our infrastructure, we will not be successful in creating this chain in the agricultural side. So thank you very much, Dr. von Malters, Mr. Botha, Mr. Mogapi. Thank you very much for the insights that you shared. So I don't know if I am at liberty to open the floor for any questions. Can I also, like the program director, say two questions maximum, please? And you can come to the front. There's a question. If you can come here, perhaps.
The future of Free State in terms of all what I'm seeing here. But if we don't have a dedicated resource, a dedicated planning of the agriculture, because agriculture takes too long to earn your earnings. Now here, I see that it's a long-term project, capital intensive, but with no money. There's no specific money. We can't always rely on government to give us something all the time. Where is private sector? If private sector is looking at the future of Free State in agriculture, they should be coming up and partner with us. Here's the person with the chicken, with everything, value chain, but I can tell you now, he's looking for funding. Nobody is looking for him. If you go to the banks, commercial banks today, you would go out of your mind. They are not even interested. So I'm just saying to this panel, and what is it that we need to do in order to transform the industry here in Free State? Because you can see we can't do anything without agriculture in Free State. There must be something that needs to bring all this revolution amongst the private sector and the government. But the government is always doing its part, you know. they are giving this, they are giving that. And unfortunately, they can't give all the time. So I'm just trying to say, we need to come up with a plan. The universities here, with all the research, they need to come up and tell us how do we stimulate the economy. The Afrikaners did that. I don't know, where are those Afrikaners with all those brilliant ideas? Where is it now? Can't we just do something, just revolutionize this industry? I thank you.
Seeing that there's no other question, I'll take the opportunity just to ask a question, because as I'm sitting here, I'm minded to reflect on all of these projects. Brilliant. But how do we account for the fact that there is yet still so much hunger in South Africa? I mean, Section 27 of the Constitution is clear. You have the right to food. We know many South Africans right now don't know when their next meal is going to come. That's just a fact that we all in this room can appreciate. It's a constitutional imperative. I'm reading, just literally Googled South Africa's percentage food waste. 10 million tons wasted out of 31 million tons produced. 70% of those 10 million tons, fruits, vegetables, staples that if you were to distribute into schools, into old age homes and your indigent communities, it would change the picture altogether for the hunger. It would buttress and have a proper impact against the SRD, which is sitting at 350 until who knows when. How can we, the question is, Dr. Van Maltitz, how do we engage the distribution models? How can we engage the distribution models of food? How can we respond to the social obligations that as men and women in society have to each other, so that everything you all spoke to redounds to what? Food security and human dignity. It must be one of the great tragedies, a country that has got so much difficulty with so much wastage within it.
Good afternoon. My name is Ntokozo. I won't say what I do for a living. But for me, this is not only a question, but a plea for higher education to provide training for business like this to create investment thesis. The issue is, as fund managers, when you're sitting down looking at the proposal, that business person can't compile an investment thesis. Therefore, it becomes a detriment of us within the funding side of the town, whereby when you're sitting at the thesis, we say, okay, fine, this person does not qualify. They do have a product that is foolproof, but it's a case of, can they actually form an investment thesis that qualifies them to get funding from a public sector? So for me, it's just a plea to say, as much as we are educating them and equipping them, let's also teach them how to compile proper investment theses that are foolproof to a point whereby it becomes easier for me to invest. For example, I love the idea. I was going to ask, how much does it cost to create one? But does he have that information? And at the end of the day, it goes back to the fact that we as investors, there are people who have money that are willing to invest, but the paperwork at the end becomes a detriment of all young entrepreneurs, especially for the agriculture field, whereby that is why it's only dependent on the government. So my plea for educational or higher education to say, please also teach them how to compile this information or these documents that we need so that we can say, yes, this qualifies for funding. I thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to respond first to the question on the food security. It is definitely a huge issue in our country, not only in our country, but the biggest factor that impacts poverty is employment. I think we need to sort out our unemployment. And I'm not a law specialist, but we should maybe look at our different labor laws, because our people need to work so that they can afford to buy food. It's really a tragedy. The social responsibility of our retailers, We need to see what's going on there and keep the pressure on. If I produce potatoes in Bloemfontein, or let's know, rural area, Klokkelaan, I'm a potato farmer, and I get a contract from ShopRite. Then I pack my potatoes, they drive it up to Joburg, and they drive it back to Klokkelaan, to the ShopRite there. Then by the time it gets there, the lifespan is now shortened, and that's why we throw away so much food, because there's a logistical issue that's not working, and that's the part of retail to assist to get that sorted out. It's unfortunately what's happened with urbanization is that's now the system that we follow in our country. The other problem is that we focus on selling through. These guys there are few of them that control the market, and the rest of us that's trying to make a living there, we can't compete. So we either have to get our foot into that door, or we're not competing. So, yeah, I think those two, social responsibility of our retailers and our unemployment needs desperate attention. From the agricultural side, I can just say, agriculture can really provide jobs, but farmers are hesitant because we're sitting with labor laws that are more sort of an attacking type of. They would rather they fear employing people at this stage. So they should be sitting around a table. I'm listening to the other comments. We need somebody to facilitate the getting together part, because there's a lot of farmers that are interested in assisting, but who do they contact? How do we just need, and I think government would be the best position to do this, to facilitate amongst our different farming sectors. Short courses, yes, we are developing a short course. I'm myself in the process. I lecture finance. I'm busy developing a short course for people that hasn't attended formal training, to how to conduct a business plan, what should be in your business plan, what does a cash flow look like. And we actually do a lot of short courses, but people don't know this. And I'm one of the people that came here. I haven't been with the varsity for very long. I've been in industry, and I was like, oh wow, this is incredible. Why didn't we know this? So we need to also get the word out. But please, our doors are open. You literally come, you knock at the faculty's door, and we get the process also going.
In as far as that initiatives are concerned, I know there are initiatives out there. I don't know whether or not they get the necessary recognition, and perhaps we should tell everybody more about them. I know about the initiative that is based in KZN that is attending to those excess foods. Perhaps we should start something like that in the Free State as well. I know they're also in the Free State doing business, but perhaps from that point of view, it won't. I don't think it will be a problem if we can start another initiative. I think at the end of the day, the need is there, and we need to address it.
I don't know, the future of Free State and dedicated planning. Look, myself as a farmer, obviously there's one of the audience that indicated that we struggle in order to access capital. It's not only me, but obviously not without laboring on. I was able to access capital only because I was in the DFI space before. So I also have the capacity to review business plans. I've got the capacity, like I've worked at your development financial institutions. So I normally sometimes, I look at guys that have brilliant plans that cannot construct those kind of business plans. They really struggle. I don't want to lie. I'm only fortunate because I've got the experience to do that. And those are the people that can actually in future, if maybe our commercial banks or the departments can actually go an extra mile. Sometimes people have good ideas but the fact that they cannot put it to appeal to internally to a commercial banks, good ideas just go thrown out of the door, I think if then, I don't know, but I'm from that space. I've been consulting for 10 years, but before I was in that space. But I'm sitting here, I know that there are a lot of good deals, there's a lot of potential that can assist us in curbing this shortage of food security. And there are medium farmers or emerging farmers that just need that little injection to get to stages where they can also compete, even if they don't compete, but they can just assist in terms of providing the food security to the country or to the province.
The man from the bank is going to be able to answer the question better. But the problem with financing is that the banks are still looking at land for collateral. From the the government side, they don't give, always give ownership of land that is allocated. So that's where the finance part becomes an issue. Although banks they look at cash flow, they look at entrepreneurship, they look at the qualities of, the person that wants the money, but that does not give them surety. So that's the issue.
Maybe just as I mentioned earlier, and I agree, there's a lot of work, but there's also a lot of work already happening, and I think, all financial institutions, I can say it without conviction, has got various partnership programs, development, and in assisting together with government in many cases and other big agricultural role players. I can't support it with stats, but I think in the agricultural space is the industry or the sector with the most of those type of programs and partnerships of developing and give opportunities from a financial point of view and assistance, free support from a financial information point of view, that all the financial institutions are involved in that. So I think coming back to what was said earlier, maybe it's necessary to just make it more public, what is available, and then to really drive it. Sometimes what worries me is we have programs, but then the what next? That's something that I think we have still work to do on, because we go through programs and stuff, but there's a lot that we can still do, and but that's the only way. The partnership between business and our producers and financing the whole chain. Thank you. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you, Mr. van Staden. Thank you very much, Dr. van Maltitz. Thank you so much, Mr. Botha. Thank you, Mr. Mogapi. Collaboration is key, obviously. It's a recurring theme. But if what I hear you say, Mr. Mogapi, that you're effectively where you are because, as it were, you had prior knowledge, prior disposition and exposure, I would imagine your skill set and that of Dr. van Maltitz, from having been in industry and now being in academia, parts of the programs, just from a skills development, capacity building, material that is generally freely distributed or readily available for how to put together a business case for agriculture. Agri-SA or Free State Agriculture could also be parts of the consulting team there just to identify opportunities, because Standard Bank are waiting to receive those things. Are they not, Mr. van Staden? Of course you are. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a thoroughly engaging conversation. Important conversation, sometimes touching on sore points, because, when you're talking about poverty, it hits home and it becomes a reality check pretty quickly, and there isn't anybody in this room, I don't imagine, who wouldn't in one way or the other identify with the impact of poverty in one's own life's experience. So without saying more than that, I do wish to extend sincere gratitude to my panelists for being so gracious with their time, for being extremely patient. The session immediately after lunch and the last session on any conference are the worst sessions to be on stage, because no one really cares, or no one is really present, or both. And you have all been gracious. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. A warm round of applause to them. Before I welcome back for final remarks, the Premier. All of you would have had these books in your packs. Everything about today, in one form or the other, is contained in this book, be it opportunities, be it contact points. There's even a foreword from the Premier, together with some of the things that unfortunately couldn't have been spoken to or about at length. This is your guide to effectively everything this conference was about. Please do interact with this, because I think more of this conference will then make sense and meaning. Similarly, I do hope that, because I saw at some point over there was a section designated for scribes. It is my fervent hope that some of these things that were spoken to today, in the debrief of the conference organizers, take 2 or 3 things. There are 100 things that have been said here. Take 2 or 3 things, so that next year when we have the 3rd installment, and I hope that word is going to change. It's a challenge, it's an international conferences. Free State International Investment Conference. You can report on 2 or 3 things that from last year we were made to think about. We reconfigured our state resources, machinery, whatever you would have done, identified opportunities that, because you're internal, a blind spot or 2, thankfully industry came through or investors came through, that we can report on positively. It's about moving the needle. The Japanese proverb is Kaizen, continuous improvement. Take 1 thing, take 2 things and improve. Finally, networking session after the Premier. Let's network and then come back here, because there are a couple of very important announcements taking place at 18 hours. But the Premier has to officially release us, just like that uncle in the family who has to say Ufefe before everybody leaves. And if that doesn't happen, nobody leaves or nobody eats. Mr. Premier, we are literally in your hands here. So please come forward and officially dismiss us. When I was at school, we would sing a song after each final assembly. Lord, dismiss us with thy blessing. This is the Lord, dismiss us equivalent.
Thank you very much for the wonderful work you have done in directing this session. We really appreciate this. To all our presenters and all those who participated in our endeavor to change the face of the province and to make it a better place for all of us. We're very thankful for the time you spend with us. It's the time well spent. I'll tell you one thing that we intend doing. We are going to take all the inputs that have been made today, and we will not take 2 or 3. We are very serious about what we are doing. We did not call you here for nice time. We did not bring you here to spend your valuable hours engaging on this, and when you leave, we forget about it. We appreciate each and every input and the engagements that have been here, that have been made here, and we'll also hear some pledges. But the pledges that we will announce at after the break, actually informed by the work that we have been doing, that the department and the organizers have been involved in over a period of time. And we know that there are others that people have in mind, but we thought that we're not just going to have a person coming and say 1 billion for this, 1 billion for that, but these are pledges where we have done some work and we're certain that these things are going to happen. For instance, the most important thing is that we need to be intentional. We need to be decisive, and for that to happen, we have already decided to put up and set up an institution that would help us. The Western Cape have what they call the West Grow, and it has actually done a lot of work because they understand the thinking, in business. They understand what the investors are looking for, and they are able to respond accordingly. What has happened in our circle, especially in the public service for some time, I think the system has created a situation where people do not understand that you need to move with urgency in dealing with issues. I'll make an example. Government has enacted and made laws and said, look, when you have a service provider who has done some work with you, make sure that you pay within 30 days. And what does the institution do? They will have all the documentation, have processed all these other things, and they will wait for 30 days. And there's no apparent reason why this should not be paid. Others would not do anything because they need to be greased. And this has actually created a situation that is very unattainable for business, and it makes it very difficult. But also, it is what we do not understand about the cash flow and how it affects business. When, and this is happening, that we need to really put a stop in it. And I hear people have been saying that the ruling party and all that corruption and everything. I'm telling you now, at some stage I was the treasurer of the ANC in the province. And one thing that we've been saying that we have not encouraged any person to be involved in these activities, but we need to deal with corruption, malfeasance decisively to demonstrate that we are really, really serious about this. This cannot be allowed, and we say it's a cancer, is this, it cannot be allowed. But one thing that I've also would like to say to you, our society needs to look at itself in the mirror. And we can't normalize some of the things. We cannot accept some of the things as normal. I'll make an example. In the case